Hello. Today I want to focus on the fine art of self-soothing. Now, I wonder how many of you know what I mean by self-soothing, and if you do know, how good are you at it? Um, I I just was clueless about these things, and definitely was not a very good self-soother as a young woman. So what I would say is I'm going to touch on a number. I've got some notes here because there's a number of different things that I need to cover with this. And so, so obviously, one of the big things is your parents, whether there was family support around for your parents, childbirthing practices, and child rearing practices. So they are kind of some of the main points that determined whether you are good at self-soothing. So if you were lucky enough if your mother had a peaceful pregnancy when she was having you, and she had plenty of rest and there was a good relationship between your parents and your father was kind and caring to your mother and certainly wasn't abusive or nasty with her. So if the two of them were loving parents, that would have a huge effect on the whole wiring of you. A lot of the literature around about these things doesn't take into account prenatal factors, and we know now from people like Bruce Lipton and the whole prenatal and perinatal psychology movement and the advances in that of how mega the prenatal period is and how much of an impact it is. But if your mum had a peaceful pregnancy and you had two loving and caring parents and there was a kind of a gentle birthing environment, preferably at home with your parents there, and no bright lights or noises, but perhaps nice music and family support around to support your parents, and no kind of obstetric traumas, and a reasonable labour and delivery, um, then you probably have a fairly secure attachment. If there was consistency of caregiving after you were born and your mum was around for you and she was in charge of when you got fed and where you were throughout the day and the night in relation to her, preferably in her presence with her. Then the chances are you are one of the 50% of people who have a secure attachment. And that would be that prenatal and perinatal period would be followed up by your mum not needing to go to work to leave you as a baby. So that those factors used to be in place for a lot of mums, but the economic shifts and sociological shifts that we've had in, say, the last 50 years, the shift away from the extended family to the nuclear family. Most parents these days don't have family support around. Um, they may live a long way away from family, and that support may not be available. So therefore, you don't have people around to help out if mum gets very tired from getting up for during the night feeds. and all that kind of thing. So um, when those factors are in place and a mother with her newborn is able to peacefully sit with the child and, you know, as they're kind of getting through the toddler and walking stage and they you know, the things that happen, that they maybe have a little pain or a little earache or some, you know, something that some area of discomfort, or they're hungry or wet or uncomfortable and they cry, that mum can pick them up and hold them and look at them, and that gaze eye to eye is really so important, and speak softly and gently and soothingly. Um, and there's a consistency in doing that. And mum is quite calm and doesn't get fearful or anxious about whatever's going on. Then the baby, um, you know, builds quite a good foundation for a sense of safety and the world being a safe place. Unfortunately, there have been changes in recent years. I mean, if you happen to be someone who was born into a family where the relationship with your parents was not good, it was tense and fractious, if the pregnancy period was stressy and your mother was stressed out, and there was a hospital birth and there was a lot of bright lights and noise and hustle and bustle when you were coming into the world, then it's not a good entry. It's stressy from, you know, being, you know, contained in the womb to all that space and noise and smells, and it's too much stimulation for a lot of children. And also, if it was, you know, delivery by forceps, or there was all kinds of instruments being used, these things have an effect on your how you feel and how you come into the world. So the lifetime effects of that kind of uh, inconsistency is that you'll maybe struggle to manage stress later in life. You may struggle to be able to self-regulate. You know, you may get startled easily, and you may be prone to anxiety. And you know, a lot depends also on the maturity of your parents as well, and the epigenetics of it. Um, if you want to know about that, have a look at some of Bruce Lipton's videos, and where he talks about the epigenetics that we grow up in. So so that's the bad news. The good news is that it is reversible. This, you know, if we get the ideal circumstances, which most people these days don't have, let's face it. Um, uh, if you get all that good stuff, you're okay. But if you don't, then if all that good stuff is in place and that connection with your mum, and she's not a nervous wreck wondering if she's going to drop you, um, you know, if everything's okay there, then you'll introject those that soothing that comes from your primary caregiver, who's probably going to be your mother. But you know, you interject that, and it becomes like a tape later on in life. If something stressy happens, that you automatically go into, there, it's okay, you'll be all right, you're fine, such a good boy. What a lovely boy you are. You are so fine. There. Shh. He'll be okay. He'll be okay. You know, that introjection is what the self-soothing is about. If you didn't have that, then the good news is it can be reversed. You can learn how to self-soothe. Now, my own coming into the world, my mother, because of her circumstances back in 1946, I was born illegitimately. She had no home to take me to, and so I was handed over to what became foster carers, but it was only meant to be for a few weeks. And so I just got looked after by anybody who happened to be around. So I actually had very insecure attachment myself. And so it was something I had to learn about later in life. And thankfully, I can self-soothe now. So the first thing is to become aware that there is such a thing. The second thing is to understand it wasn't all down to your mother, whether she was there or not. You understand the circumstances, you know that you didn't learn the fine art of self-soothing, and that you need to learn it for yourself. Blaming your mother or feeling angry and resentful towards your parents is not really going to do you any good. So you just have to learn how to self-soothe. And so the awareness, the intention to learn how to do that for yourself, it's a kind of self-parenting where you become the parent that maybe you weren't able to have. So there's something about having some compassion, not being critical about yourself or your circumstances, but having some compassion for yourself and the other people involved, and learning how to um, speak to yourself positively, calmly, gently, and and become the loving parent to yourself that maybe you didn't have for whatever reason or circumstances. So I would say that really to become aware and to set the intention and to follow that up with spending time with yourself, doing some inner child work, perhaps watch some of the videos that I have made about inner child work. Um, and so there's healing that little child who didn't have that optimal beginning in the world. But bearing in mind, I've had to do a lot of work myself on the prenatal issues. For me, my mother didn't actually want me. Who would want a child when you've got no home to go to? Back in those days when there was no help available. So, you know, the emotions of your mother while she's pregnant with you have a big bearing on that sense of safety that you come in with, and that's important too. So good therapy, learning how to self-parent are really two big ones, and do see my other videos about healing your inner child, about self-parenting, and forget about the mother blaming that goes on in all of this, because mostly the mothers were never mothered themselves. So I'm going to leave that there for now. I'd be interested to hear your comments. Um, and if you find this of use, don't forget to click like and subscribe. And I will be following this up with more content on this topic. So, bye for now. Bye.